We're having a new moon in Cancer, a beautiful new moon co-joined with Venus, the goddess of luck, beauty, prosperity, friendship, love, and peace. But this moon is also on a beautiful star. On July the 5th, we're going to see this new moon backdropped against Sirius, the dog star, a star of alchemy, magic, fame, honors, and riches, and a deeply spiritual star revered by the Egyptians and is connected to the mythology of the origin of the human race. It's a binary star system, by the way, so it's a very interesting tale, and we're going to get into how this particular star that is literally the same star that is positioned on the sun of the United States of America's natal chart using the Sibley chart for the signing of Declaration of Independence will mean new beginnings, new moon, and big changes, not only in the 2 weeks that follow, but more accurately, the 6 months that follow a Cancer new moon, new beginning, both to the United States or with the United States leadership, sun, but also in our own lives, a whole new beginning that's quite enchanted, quite auspicious, quite sparkly. A couple asteroids are involved, and one of them is Salacia. Think gossip. Unreliable news stories and scandal. Also, we have involved an asteroid for homecoming and returning to one's home or homeland, like a migratory bird. That is a Hawaiian asteroid, Leleakuhonua, which I can never pronounce, and that is in the sky as well. Both Salacia and that asteroid for homecoming are square this moon. We also have Ceres opposite. We'll talk about what that might mean for the world in terms of world events connected to agriculture and weather. Welcome. If you're new to my channel, my name is Lori Lothian, and I am using the Western Tropical Zodiac and the whole sign house system. And fixed stars and minor asteroids delight me, and if they are things that you want to learn more about, then please subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. We're using astrology to help you time your best life. Think of it like weather reports. Use it to help navigate in a very a more flowing and easy cooperative way with reality. So first of all, let's go into the moon, and we're going to be showing you the chart. And let's go into that star to begin with. So the sun will co-join with the dog star Sirius in the constellation of the Greater Dog every single year at this time. So that's nothing unusual. And this is happening, July 4th, 5th, because of course the United States sun is July 4th. Happy birthday, USA. And the star was positioned, the sun of the United States was positioned in the ancient Mason tradition of ancient esoteric knowledge about Egyptian lore and astrology. The founding fathers of the United States were Masons, and they were esotericists, and they were alchemists, and they were magicians, and they were astrologers. And so there's not an accident that 5 p.m. Philadelphia Declaration signing of Declaration signing on the Independence chart was positioned so that it would align up with the day that the sun was on the star. So one of the things about all of us experiencing a new moon, new beginning, fresh start with the star involved, fame, honors, riches. It used to be called this, I think the translation from Greek might be, if I remember correctly, the sparkling one and the scorching one. It's a bright white star, very, very bright. But also it was connected to the idea of prosperity. And so there's a sense of, in fact, I do believe one of the cultures, and I'm going to try to remember if the Chinese culture had a name for the star that was connected to the word prosperity. So every culture would have a different name, but the overall archetype is generally positive. There was this little quote from Homer that I read about when I was researching the star to do with bad weather and plagues. Okay, so I'm not going to say it's always positive, but for the most part, the star was being seen by the ancients as bestowing good things upon humanity. And now we have a new moon on this star, a new beginning, a fresh start in the Cancer whole sign house of your chart, and in the Cancer whole sign house for the various nations of the world. Because the United States' sun is in this particular Cancer realm on this star, we can definitely say new beginning, fresh start, change in sun, leadership, USA. So clearly, the suggestion is Biden / or the Democratic Party may not be the leading party or person in the next 6 months, because every new moon has a 6-month unfoldment window, and that will indeed take us to the election in November. However, even in the next 2 weeks is kind of fascinating. Okay, so we'll be getting into that as well, because on July the 15th, we're going to see the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. And holy man, that's going to be interesting because we have Mars-Uranus conjunction. And that's going to be on Donald Trump's midheaven and opposite Joe Biden's moon. So we're going to see a lot of shocking, surprising, really radical reality shifting events in the middle of July. So this moon, because it's new on July 5th, and then you add 2 weeks, encompasses the Republican National Convention window of time and the conjunction of Mars and Uranus in the late degrees of Taurus, not only on the midheaven of Donald Trump, not only opposite the sun, Scorpio sun of Joe Biden, but also on the very challenging star of decapitation, off with their heads, Algol. Someone is going to lose their head. But what head of? Head of state? There's also some complications or interesting developments with other world leaders and countries. And we're going to be doing, especially France, we're going to be doing a whole special video on this. So you can stay tuned for that. Now, what I've been talking about is what we call mundane astrology or world astrology. It's not personal to you. It's what this guy might do for the world. But believe me, we're going to dive into your story, because this is really about where you want to come home to a place where you've had a sense of yearning, a sense of longing, a sense of wanting to return. And you're going to want to return to something that's connected to your Aries sky. I'm going to show you the sky now. I'm going to give you a look at what I'm talking about. And I want to note one more thing just before I do that. You know, I'm about to show you the sky, but I also want you to understand the sky is like a kind of a template, a grid, a map, right, of energy. And this energy is going to be very actively engaging what is an eclipse in the fall in October at 10 degrees of Libra, and again at 9 degrees or 10 degrees of Aries next spring. Those two eclipses are really activated around what's going on right now with the North and South Node near Salacia, near this asteroid of homecoming. So there's ways that the sky right now is actually foretelling or waking up sensitive sky points that we'll see unfold in the fall. Now, particularly this 10-degree Libra South Node position will be activated very dramatically on an eclipse in the fall, in the month of October before the election. And because the North Node, South Node axis, as you can see, is square the new moon, this means that this new moon and events in the 2 weeks that follow can be strongly connected to the eclipse in October of 2024. And that is on October the 2nd at 10 degrees of Libra, a solar eclipse. So I'm expecting some huge energy from this particular new moon to also be fulfilling some destined changes in the Libra axis of our sky, and of course in the Aries axis of our sky collectively. What is Aries? It is war. What is Libra? It is treaties, peace, alliances like the BRICS nations, scales of justice, etc. The nation of Israel is a Libra rising. The war began as a South Node crossed Israel's ascendant. There was also a Mars North-South Node conjunction on the ascendant of Israel last fall, and this is all connected to this Middle East war. Very, very possibly we're going to see big changes in that war as a result of the new moon co-joined with Venus, the goddess of peace, harmony, friendliness, kindness, and beauty. In that sense, there is some hope in the sky that this new moon can propel something forward that could possibly look slightly like a de-escalation of conflict. I'm ever hopeful. But in the world at large, what else could be going on in this narrative? Well, for one, we see a square from this sun and moon on this beautiful power, glory, fame, riches, creativity, alchemy, magic, and spiritual depth star connected to the ancient theory that we are seeded by people from the binary star system to which this particular star Sirius, the dog star, is a part of. Binary means two stars are swirling around each other. And I believe it is indeed a white dwarf that it is doing the figure 8 with. So really, to me, this square to the nodes of fate is also involving Salacia And even though she's a sea god, consort of Neptune, a mermaid kind of vibe, even though she's connected to perhaps our ability to tune into other realms and dimensions, that she's been interpreted that way, Salacia is salacious. And that is about gossip or scandal or news. And she's got a slow multi-hundred year, 300-year orbit maybe. She's got a slow orbit. She's out there, a dwarf planet in the trans-Neptunian area of the sky up by Neptune. But you know something? This salaciousness works. You know, when, oh my God, the British broadcaster, kind of flaky hippie guy, someone give me his name. You know, there was a sex scandal. He got involved in that scandal. A Channel 4 News England report saying that he'd had all kinds of impropriety regarding sexual relationships, maybe in work settings. Oh my God, what's his name? Come on, someone give it to me in the comments. And the asteroid was in a massive implication. Salacia was very strongly connected to his natal sky, all right, positions in particular, his Aries moon, if I remember correctly. So you're going to find big scandalous stories breaking out. Scandalous stories, not only around sexuality, though it surely could be, about anything. So what kind of scandal is going to hit the airwaves because of this particular seashell goddess, Salacia, squaring the new moon and, of course, connected to the nodes of fate? And reminding you that we will see Uranus and Mars co-joining here around 26 degrees of Taurus on fixed star Algol on the 14th, 15th of July, 16th of July. That's right when that National Republican Convention is happening in Milwaukee, and it's going to be a big deal. Somehow there are huge Uranus shock and awe, unexpected events that nobody saw coming. And what are you going to do when the Mars-Uranus conjunction is on the midheaven of Donald Trump and opposite the sun or the career purpose energy of Joe Biden? We know that both of those leaders are going to be highly impacted by this particular conjunction. And for Joe Biden, where the Mars-Uranus conjunction occurs, is in a sixth house of work and health, sickness matters. So opposite the 12th house of hospitals. So it's possible, for example, we'll see something to do with Joe Biden and hospitals or sickness or shocking sickness around that time. And for Trump, having this on his midheaven, which represents his visible purpose and career in the world, despite the fact he has a Gemini sun, which is being blessed right now by Jupiter's transit. Jupiter will be squaring Saturn in August, which is difficult and constraining. Saturn does rule isolation like jails. And we also note that the midheaven is a sensitive point to do with his reputation, and shock and awe Mars-Uranus conjunction can't be that good. So wouldn't that be interesting if neither leader, Biden or Trump, is going to be in the running come this November? I've kind of suggested that multiple times before. All right. Although by far in the astrology, Donald Trump's chart looks far stronger, including his zodiacal releasing. I will be doing videos just on the elections, okay? People ask me to cover RFK, and I haven't. I don't think he's going to be relevant to the ultimate election outcome. And so I will still look at his chart and explain why, but he will take votes away from people, but I don't think he's a true contender. That's what I'm seeing. Okay, let's get going and talk about your sign. Before we do, let me remind you of a couple more little tiny points. I want to talk about this idea that the goddess of the agriculture, harvest, and the reaping. Okay, I call her the Grim Reaper-S because Saturn and Ceres both have a sickle or a scythe to harvest in their hands, kind of. The archetypal reaping energy is in the symbol itself for both Saturn and Ceres. And the question I have is, what needs to be harvested in each of our lives? What needs to be reaped in each of our lives that's opposite this new beginning, and that also can look like, because of the square to Salacia, it can look like a very challenging moment of time in the weeks that follow this new moon, particularly the first 2 weeks, particularly the acute time frame, where we're facing collectively and individually some kind of challenge to end or reaper and get rid of something that's challenging in our Capricorn sky. In the Middle East war, the Capricorn zone of the sky represents the home and homeland of the Israeli nation, which is contested, of course, 1967 borders, which borders what's their true home and homeland. And also the homecoming little bird, migratory bird, Leleakuhonua. Sorry, guys, I know I should figure that one out. But nonetheless, it's about a yearning for one's true home. It has to do with the creation myth in Hawaii. It's the idea of the migratory bird that wants to return to Earth, but then it also kind of is like homesickness, yearning for one's true home, having to leave one's home to appreciate it, wanting to return to one's home and homeland, like a nesting bird. Well, what peoples would like to return to their homes that have been displaced for their homes in this world? Okay, yes, there's displacement of both nations in the Middle Eastern War. Both peoples have slightly been displaced, one side slightly, just a little bit of some kibbutzes displaced. But on the other hand, we've got an entire 1.5 million people crammed into tents and temporary shelters and not in their homes. And the yearning to return to their true homes, or having to leave their home in order to appreciate their home, is very evident in what we're seeing going on in the world right now. And sadly, many of those displaced, war-torn, hungry people do not have homes to return to. Apparently, over 60% of the infrastructure, including homes, have been destroyed. So that's the saddest thing. Okay, now let's talk about you. It's not all negative. Now, before we do, we're going to start with Aries. I want you to know that you're going to focus on the Cancer part of your sky. I will also talk about the Aries part of your sky and the Capricorn part of your sky, that those three places, here, here, and here, are very hyperactivated by this particular lunation. I do enjoy the flow from Saturn retrograde as well to this moon, and we'll talk a bit about that in your sky as well. Saturn is very, very much a part of this moon. He has just gone retrograde on the 30th of June. Please listen to my all signs deep dive video into that. And then, of course, Neptune has gone retrograde. I think it's around July the 3rd. But the idea here is you have a deeply still and slow moving body of celestial real estate. I mean, Saturn, when he stations and starts to go backwards, is moving incredibly slow, but he's close to Earth and more influential. And he's revise, rethink, redo, revision your reality regarding territory you've already traversed in the past. That's going to be coming up. But he does flow to the moon, and it can sort of suggest to me that the area of our lives, it's about the Piscean waters, which is our more mystical, spiritual, compassionate, type of energy, is going to be embedded within this lunation. We're not going to just be all about fame, power, riches. We may want to be Pisces energies. That's where you go to the soup kitchen. That's where you help the homeless. That's where you send money to a charity. Saturn is hardship and water. And of course, we've seen so much water hardship since he's been here. The submersible imploding, the Titanic thing, ferry boats of refugees capsizing, radiation water from Fukushima going into the ocean by choice, floods we've never seen in the Middle East. Where was that? Saudi Arabia? No, it was, oh my God, maybe the United Arab Emirates had massive flooding. In Dubai. I mean, there's stuff that we haven't seen, water hardships that we haven't seen before. So, because Saturn is hardship, constraint, constriction, and difficulty in a sign to do with oceans and seas, there may be something about this moon that can bring that to the forefront because of the Uranus conjunction to Mars on the 14th, 15th, 16th of July. That can be seismic activity, okay? That can be things that shake up the Taurus sky, which is the Earth. Now, we did see the conjunction back in 2022 and all in the summer, and also in February of 2021. So if you want to track seismic activity and those timeframes, let me know what you find. All right, I'll be doing a deep dive video into this synodic cycle of Mars and Uranus, which I've just covered for my Patreon community, by the way. So if you like that kind of teaching privately, you might want to sign up for Patreon, who's getting this video early access ad-free today, June the 25th, as I record it, for them ahead of time. All right, let's go ahead and start with Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising. We're going to spend about no longer than 45 minutes to an hour finishing this video. If you haven't hit the like button and you're listening to me today in the live premiere, would you please do so? It's extremely important to help this channel grow. And also, if you are somebody who has not subscribed, I'm asking you to please give me a try, because I've been having some kind of weird, I don't know if they've scrubbed the bots or they scrubbed the zombie accounts out, but what a dump of subs that happened all at once in the month of June. It's really bizarre. So all I can say is hopefully that's just cleaning up the back end of the zombie accounts, but I don't think people were unsubscribing en masse. So if you want to give me a boost, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Now we're going to start off with Aries, and we're going to move through each sign, and we're going to talk about the power, the alchemy, the magic, the fame, the success, the prosperity embedded within the fixed star Sirius, the nature of Jupiter, the nature of Mars, according to Ptolemy, positive energy, dynamic energy, commander-in-chief energy, and how that might play out with Venus co-present, conjunct, actually, broad conjunction to this lunation. The moon gets a 13-degree orb in ancient astrology, and this is definitely counts. There's only 7 degrees between the new moon and Venus in the sign of Cancer. So it is a very Venus-blessed new beginning. But we must address for your sign, of course, the square to Salacia, the square to the asteroid for homecoming, and the opposition to Ceres, which creates a T-square. Don't be afraid of T-squares and squares and grand crosses, because basically they propel you to make decisions and take actions. That's basically it. And, without the grit, the oyster creates the pearl from the grit of discontent in life, nothing would happen, right? Action. What drives a good fiction story, right? Conflict. Well, many things, adventure, conflict, mystery, but conflict and the conflictual tensions of a square or an opposition are allowing us to move our stories forward individually and collectively. It is the engine of change. Those squares are the nature of Mars. So I'm expecting us all to see this in hindsight, that we will have made changes in our Cancer part of our sky under some kind of pressure from the Aries and Capricorn zones of our sky as well. So let's get started with Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Now, before we start, one more thing. If you're listening for your rising sign, it's like when you were born, it is what's happening in the sky. Let me just stop the share so my sister can timestamp this. When you were born, the eastern horizon line at the time of birth and the latitude, longitude of your birthplace is your rising sign. It is like you slicing into reality as a soul as you're born, and it can indicate the character you're playing in the game of life, the simulation avatar, where your sun can be your eternal nature, your true self, the game player, but it's also your purpose, your career matters, and it has connections to father and father figures. Whereas the moon can be the body and the nest and home, but it also can connect to your mother and mother figures. So listen for all of these elements in the astrology. In India, they always have you listen to the moon because it's connected to how you mentalize and think about the mind. It's your mind in their astrology. I always find that my sun is more accurate the older I get. So for those of you who do think that the sun sign's fitting you, it may be you're living more into the deeper essence of your core essential nature. So let's get going. Again, I just wanted to explain that to you. I always forget to do that. And we're going to start with the Aries sun, moon, and rising sign. Give me a minute while I get into the right signage. So this is a July 5th lunation, but it depends on your time zone too. But for most of us, we'll just say it's July 5th. And if you're intention setting, magic making, vision boarding, whatever you want to do on a new moon, I always recommend you wait until the moon is the first waxing crescent, because that is more where you have some light and the light is growing, but the moon is dark. And I'm a little suspicious of doing magic on the dark moon. So just saying, okay? Okay, so Aries, sun, moon, and rising, let's talk. You want to return home to some sense of true self. Chiron here is the wounded one in the house of your identity. And so a lot of Aries have been struggling, if it's your sun, with a career identity issues. What's my true career path, purpose? Your moon, where's my true home? Where's my true sense of belonging? And if it's your ascendant, a lot of you ascendants have just been feeling out of your own skin since 2019 with this Chiron transit. And this is a chance, thanks to these eclipses, to get rid of that sense of the non-belongingness that Chiron can give us, or something wounded in our identity. And I say our because I have a sun and a moon here. And might think, well, like, what kind of sun identity could be wounding Lori? Well, sometimes I say, is it my true destiny to be an astrological weather girl? I was a journalist. For the reason I didn't stick around with journalism, I didn't want to be reporting like transient break-ins and superficial things to people. So I think sometimes I am in an identity crisis. So all you Aries listening, where is your identity crisis? Sun, your purpose and career; moon, your home and body; and then ascendant, everything about your life is in a sense of identity crisis. And okay, while I'm not particularly fond of Salacia here, you would be the gossiper. So be careful that the moon that is happening in the fourth house doesn't lead you to either be the epitome or epicenter of scandal, or the one who is breaking something in a scandalous or salacious or, tawdry manner into the world in the next couple of weeks after this moon of July the 5th. It says July 6th on my screen, but the moon is actually most exact on July the 5th. Let's go back. And why I think you also have to pay attention to this T-square is that with Ceres at the top of the sky, it's almost suggesting it's time to harvest and slice, cut, sever, reap something in the career and reputation zone. Quite often I see she does represent a kind of turning point that has to do with completions. We harvest the fruit and the vegetables when they are completed growing. So what are you completing, harvesting, and ending in your 10th house of career and reputation? It feels like it's gritty over the next 2 weeks after this moon and 6 months, but no worries. Take a deep breath, because Venus, the lesser benefic, and the dog star Sirius are co-joined with this new beginning, and it is auspicious for your love, your prosperity, your goodness, and your sense of life is loving you up, and it's loving you up in and from your home. And let's just face it, what might you do in and from your home that can bring wealth and prosperity and success and even fame, the dog star, to your world? Venus is the goddess of all things creative and artistic. So we don't know what that will be until this moon shows us the way over the 2 weeks and 6 months that follow. Well, the reminder, of course, is that you're going to have that shock and awe conjunction on the 14th, 15th in your second house of money matters, but it does flow to Ceres in the 10th house. So I'm not as worried as I would be otherwise in this lunation itself, but stay tuned for that video that I'll be putting out closer to July 15th. This is where you might want to like and subscribe, because that'll be an all signs deep dive with lots of advice. In fact, I might even do a webinar, a free webinar. Now, the only other thing I'd like to say about this moon is if your Aries sun or moon or rising happens to be close to 14 degrees, let's give it a nice broad 9 to 19 degrees of the sign of Cancer for your sun, moon, and rising in Aries. Square that degree-based range. Sorry. So, are you 9 to 19 degrees, sun, moon, and rising? I am. I'm 14 degrees sun. You're going to really feel this. It's intense because it's angular to you. It's squaring you, and it's making for change matters in angular houses for the pivots of the chart. The turning of the wheel of your fortune houses 4, 10, and 1 major life changes. You may note that there's a south node as well in your 6th house. What destined letting goes are you doing with audience, clients, marketplace, significant long-term love stories, and business partnerships that may also unfold in the next 6 months? And let's move in to Taurus. So Taurus, what happens here is that this is a really lovely lunation for you, because Venus is your primary planet. She's your, what we call your Lagna Lord in Indian astrology, the Lord of the Ascendant. She's your number 1 guiding planet, and she's got your back. And here she sits on this new beginning, new moon in your 3rd house. And it's flowing to your identity as a Taurus sun, moon, or rising in a sextile. Is your Taurus sun, moon, or rising degrees between 9 and 19 degrees, because then you're quite engaged in this, 5 degrees on either side. This is really hitting you in a very acute and specifically important way. This energy for you, Taurus, significantly is going to say flowing change and new beginnings that you are quite delighted by. It flows to your ascendant, it flows to your sun, it flows to your moon, that involves siblings, that involve your neighbors or local neighborhood, that involves opportunities for short distance travel, that involves developments that are positive, connected to skills-based teaching or learning. Those are some of the meanings of the third house. In general, the third house is just your daily, everyday world that you go to the grocery store, the bank, the gym. It's the stuff that you surround yourself with in that old fishbowl in which you swim. Thank you, Adam Ellenbus, for that term. And this part of your life gets better. Okay, that's the good news. This part of your life is going to be improving. If you have any writing projects you're doing because you're a writer, or any communication, social media, online stuff that you need to get focused on, this moon will help you do that as well. This is the matters of the third house. And are you single, looking for love? Well, then Venus is a goddess of love, and the third house is local dating and online dating. So for you guys, this is a great time to branch out and meet someone new. And I would do that in the 2 weeks that follow the new moon for sure. What about the opposition to Ceres in the 9th house? What are you harvesting, completing, and fulfilling and ending like a harvest goddess in your 9th house of higher education, court and legal matters, long distance travel, book publishing, contracts, and publications of all kinds? That's what you might want to ponder, because in the 2 weeks that follow, and of course in the 6 months that follow, that might be self-evident. My daughter's a Taurus sun, and she's harvesting and completing her university studies. What about the salaciousness and the yearning to go home to something in the Aries part of your sky? Well, this homecoming, or this yearning to come home, is to come home to more of a connection to the divine, spiritual, moksha, liberation impulse. It's like your soulful quest for truth, knowledge, and wisdom, to break free of the illusion of the matrix. That's all stuff that belongs to the 12th house, but so do addictions. 12th house, 6th house axis. And I wonder if some of you may realize you're up against some kind of pattern, behavior, or habit that could be qualified as substance abuse, addiction, self-undoing, self-sabotaging behaviors. And you want to come home to something more true and recover from that wound. With Salacia, scandal, North Node, I'm not that worried, because it's a hidden house. So you're not getting like a big breaking news story scandal about yourself. It may be your own sense of, let's go with the mermaid. Let's go with Salacia as sort of an interdimensional portal traveler, connected to psychic ability and sensitivities. And that part of you might be wide open as this consort of Neptune, the wife of Neptune, the sea goddess, is active in your spiritually deep and profoundly liberating 12th house. With the South Node in the 6th house of illnesses, this is also letting go, perhaps, of ways that you create illness in your own life, but also letting go of a job. Let's just be really serious, right? Sirius, the dog star, says fame, glory, success, and riches, and all of that in the local neighborhood, in the online virtual world, in a skills-based learning and teaching placement. Who knows? With a sibling, with an extended family member, aunt, uncle, cousin, niece, nephew, third house folk, the kin that live around you. And with the South Node in your 6th house, what are you letting go of that is connected to an old path of work that might have been work as service, but duty and drudgery and struggle? Because that South Node is flowing to Pluto, and a lot of you are letting go of one work path or one service path or one sense of hardship in work to lead yourself to something that's more truthful and evolutionary, more powerful in your work and career space. So I think that that's also one way to see this over the next few months. Otherwise, the 6th house can be eliminating debt in your life. Why not? And with Jupiter in the 2nd house, expanding your earnings and your savings over the next year, a lot of you will be able to eliminate that debt, whether it's a credit card, a mortgage, a bank loan, whatever. And this new moon might help you do that as well. Now, it is square the South Node I get that, but it's about the changes and actions needed to eliminate a job you don't like, a health matter that you no longer want to have, especially if you cause it by your own bad habits and behaviors, and any debt that is going to burden you can be eliminated. All right, Gemini, sun, moon, and rising. I'm recording in front of a window in my hometown that I grew up in, and it is dark and gloomy. And it looks like there's going to be a thunderstorm. So you might hear rolling thunder in a minute. So basically for you, and I'm just trying to get comfortable in this window, which is really hard. So give me a minute while I put my leg up for you, Gemini. Gemini. The Gemini people have a new beginning, a new moon, a fresh start in the earnings house, right? Your second house is like your savings, what you possess, a car, a home, a bunch of cash in the bank, your resources financially. And that kind of energy is being refreshed. I have a progressed sun in Gemini, and that's a refreshing of my career and the money and savings story. Thank you, universe. Because ultimately, with Venus here, a money goddess in a money house connected to financial wellness, and a star, Sirius, the dog star for the fame, wealth, and power energies of that. This is auspicious as all hell. So look to clues in the 2 weeks that follow this lunation, and also, of course, the 6 months that follow for how this new beginning wants to reset itself. Well, you might be propelled or catalyzed to make changes, right, in the area of your chart that represents Ceres, right, in your 8th house opposite this moon. And that's how you might have to cut, harvest, complete, or finish something to do with shared resources with a bank, a business partner. So that can be completing paying off a credit card debt or whatever, investments in your stock market, your tax structures. I just incorporated, maybe I'll disincorporate. Is Canada just increased corporations' capital gains taxes? Oh, Canada, I don't love you. But nonetheless, you're looking at a beautiful flourishing in your finances is basically what I'm trying to tell you. Now, yeah, you can have new moons here every year, but on Dog Star Sirius with Venus hugging it, no, it's beautiful. So what are you going to end here? Is it dependency on other people's money? Is it shared resources with your marriage partner? Is it something to do with trying to rely on monies that come through investments? Maybe that's no longer the path for you. When I look at this idea that you must look at the square to Salacia North Node, the homecoming Hawaiian asteroid of migratory birds, and Chiron, eek, there is a force your hand energy regarding the way the gains of your career happen. You see, the second house from the 10th house represents one's gains specifically from one's career path. And because this is where you have increase, which is great, but also desperate striving, you may notice that there's going to be a kind of shift as you go for some yearning, for some turning point here towards true home. It's one thing to make a lot of money. Are you feeling it's in alignment with your long-range goals and dreams and plans for your life, which is the 11th house. It's a positive house, a house of good spirit. And the North Node's increasing some of your karmic rewards. Salacia up here, maybe some kind of scandal or some kind of story, gossip regarding a friend or a group member of a group, someone in a group that you belong to, somebody who is an elder sibling involved in some story that's pretty intense over the next 2 weeks and 6 months from this moon. But otherwise, you have to watch out because it's sort of like the gains of your career. Are you going to get involved in a salacious story, a career scandal of some kind? Who knows? You do have Saturn retrograde with Nessus in your 10th house right now, and Neptune for all the news is salaciously untrue. So just be careful you don't step into a quicksand of some sort of career scandal. Tread those waters carefully of your 10th house. And, let's face it, Gemini, you've got Jupiter in your first house through till next June. And that's going to protect you. It's going to give your sun, your career, your moon, your home, body, and your ascendant a lot of goodness, a lot of protection. Even if he's not in his most happy element, you still are under his divine protection. This new moon does code in a sextile from Jupiter to Mercury. And that also says to me, yeah, this is okay. Whatever we have going on, it could be, oh no, salacious. It probably isn't about you. It could be about your, one of your friends. Maybe they're having a scandal. Maybe you're, somebody in your colleague coworker space is having a scandalous event that's destined, and it's just going to play out closer into the 2 weeks that follow the new moon. So has anyone else had the new variant flirt? The COVID variant, I just got over it. And it's weird. It bypasses naturally acquired and induced immunity. And so watch out for that one. I got it in Portugal at the end of the El Camino. And I'm just going to say, guys, it's a bitch. It is. So if I have brain fog, or if I'm seeing like I miss a beat today, I'm still in the recovery 2 weeks. All right, moving into the next story: Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Of course, it is your moon, right? It is all about you. You have a new moon here every year in the summertime, but do you have a new moon with Venus hugging it on the dog star for fame, riches, success? No, of course not. The nature of Jupiter and Mars? No, this is beautiful. For you, Cancer rising specifically, this is definitely a global all over yay you. Better health, better personality, better outcomes in all areas of your life, especially career, home, and significant marriage stories can be quite lit up. Now, if it's your sun, it's about your career, Cancer, Sun, and Moon, or maybe about your home and nest or your body. Okay, remember those rules. But hey, it's good for Cancers. And but, what's going on? You want to harvest over here. You want to get rid of a client. Is it time to complete a certain type of outreach to significant others? Is it time to end something in a marriage or end away the marriage out pictures? There's a harvest, completion, fulfillment, fullness when you see a harvest goddess here. I mean, it's not like you're going to have an agricultural experience in a marriage, right? What else, I'm looking at the other archetypes of what it means to be the goddess of the harvest, the goddess of the things that grow and nurture us. And yet she's fulfilling a kind of grim reaperess. You might cut out a relationship of some sort that you no longer need in your life in order to blossom and be successful in your own right. When I look at this sort of North Node in the 10th house, Salacia, and of course the homecoming energy, we got a mixed bag. Look out in the next 2 weeks after this moon for some kind of scandal regarding you and your visible reputation in your career space, some kind of gossip about you, for example. I mean, life happens, right? But on the other hand, the homecoming, yearning to return to one's true home with Chiron is indicating yet again, a lot of Cancers are just trying to find that tongue and groove, that lock and load, the key in the door that fits perfectly Chiron of who they're supposed to be with their gifts and talents in the career space of this lifetime. So knowing that's true, the homecoming is auspicious, but it requires decisions and actions by you that may feel high pressure in the 2 weeks that follow the moon to make the changes needed, to take the actions and decisions needed to secure a more sure footing in your career space that feels true to you. Chiron. Sometimes a good old career scandal can reboot us towards what we really want, right? South Node is transiting through your 4th house. What do you need to leave behind from your childhood? Let go of from your ancestral stories. What do you need to let go of physically? Maybe it's your real home, especially if you're floating IC and whole sign houses in the 4th house. Many of you, Cancer risings, will be letting go of a homestead, a home, but you're looking for your true home, the asteroid at the top of the sky. Between now and 6 months from this moon, some of you may choose to change homes, buy a home, sell a home, rent a new home. Let me know what happens. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign, it's very subtle. This is a new moon that's very, very subtle. Because all of the Cancer new moons every year are here in your 12th house, whole sign house, it feels to you like this is yet again just another kind of introspective, spiritual, dreams at night, a magical realm event, it's kind of happening back there. Like if you're a meditator, or a trance journey, or a shaman, or a spiritual seeker, you're awake to this house more than the average Joe. And if that's you, then this is going to be something you could feel into, Cancer, feeling into it. Often this kind of energy can really open up some doors of pleasure, because Venus is a pleasure goddess and a bed pleasure's home. New beginnings in the way you experience your, not just your sexual pleasures, bed pleasures meaning like the 12th house is enjoying your solitude, enjoying your secret alone time. And so enjoying that part of your life in order to garner some Syrian riches. Yes, the dog star. Now, because barter trade from far off foreign places and foreign shores exists here, like the spice trade, you may, and because it's third house from the 10th, the traveling salesman even, you may find yourself having exceptional financial well-being from international revenue sources or borderless income as a result of this new beginning, new moon. So my sister's going to come on my channel. She's a Leo sun. I'm going to share something she's up to with you guys, and it'll be coming out in early July, and very likely this will boost some of her business as a healer, healingwithnancylyn.com. Just keep your eye on that upcoming interview with her. And I think when I look at Venus here, she wants to get tucked in under the covers and do things that are creative, fun, and enjoyable in the privacy of her boudoir. And that's going to kind of play it for 6 months, where that is very satisfying for you, but also brings that riches, that fame, that power, that success of the dog star to bear. It is a deeply spiritual star connected to our spiritual ancestral home of the Syrian star system, binary stars. It is connected to magic and alchemy. So again, you can go very deep with this, you Leos. What else can we say? Well, we have an opposition from this new beginning, new moon, to the 6th house, harvesting, reaping, severing, cutting something. Are you cutting away from a job, a work path? Are you letting go of a health matter that's been a problem? Are you releasing a pet? Now, I don't want to worry you, okay? But I do real astrology, not just woo, ascension, higher vibration, okay? I'm talking about, this is like the Grim Reaperess or the grandma with a sickle in your house of pets. And if you have an elderly pet, not just in the 2 weeks that follow this moon, but in the 6 months that follow, you may likely see the elderly pet getting ready to leave, period. This bodily form. Does that bother you? Well, that's called real life. Yes. Why not be prepared? Okay. Everyone who's died in my life, my mother and my father, I had dreams, portents, and warnings. So I therefore took measures to emotionally prepare. And this is possible for you and your pet stories. Also, you might also want to let go of, harvest, or complete a debt situation, money you owe, especially with Ceres sextiling Saturn in the house of banks, mortgages, credit cards. And so some of you may be harvesting or ending or completing a debt problem or a debt situation. When I see the homecoming asteroid in the 9th house of God, but it's also the house of lands that are foreign to your birthplace. There is a yearning to maybe travel abroad, to explore far off places. Another meaning of the 12th house is far off foreign places as well. So you may be looking at a lot of Leos who are going to have a sense of travel that feels like they've returned to their home. I remember the first time I went to Rome, I was like, I've been here. This feels like home. I've been there more than once. And you may have a journey to a place in a far off shore, and you might go, I feel like I'm at home. That said, the North Node and the homecoming in Chiron, healing the wound with a father figure, one of the 9th house meanings, being able to connect to a deeper spiritual source, a faith, a religion, a spiritual practice or path, opening up for you over the next 2 weeks and 6 months from this moon. If there's any salacious gossip, it might be around legal matters, publishing industry matters, or spiritual, like a salacious gossipy story about your priest or something in your 9th house. With the South Node in your 3rd house, of course, you're trying to let go of something to do with the 3rd, which can be a releasing of some of the energy around your neighbor's sibling relationships as well, baked into the next 6 months of this story. South Node in the house of younger sibling, one under you, can indicate some troubles in the life of your younger sibling, and it may catapult you to travel in connection to that sibling in the 2 weeks and 6 months that follow this new moon. I'm going to take a little refresher where I'm going to get some kind of sustenance. I don't have any chocolate. Oh, maybe there is some chocolate at my sister's home, and I'll be right back. Am I recording? Let's keep on keeping on, folks. We're moving into the next sign, and I hope I'm not going too slow for you guys today. Don't forget, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You know you want to do it. There's a blogger that I like who says that, you know you want to. I think I'm going to start saying that because it's fun and playful. You know you want to. All right. Oh, goodness gracious. Probably you guys, some of you know who I listen to. I'm an alt media girl these days. Mainstream media, you can't rely on for any actual news. That's true. All right. So Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. My daughter is one of you, and my best friend, and my everybody I know. So long story short, I get you. We have a beginning of something fresh and new on the powerful dog star Sirius, connected to, you know, fame, prosperity, wealth, and goodness, riches, and all that good stuff. Who doesn't want a bit of that in their life? With Venus, the goddess of goodness and luck, hugging that new beginning. And with Venus up here, she's basically giving it her good housekeeping seal of approval. You're going to have greater career gains. In essence, you're going to make more money and have more success, raises, promotions, and financial gain in a career path as a result of this. Now, you may expand and be blessed in your friendship circles and attract wealthy and rich and powerful people over the next 6 months, or just simply have a greater sense of luck and goodness and wonderful results in the friendship groups and circles that you become involved in the next 2 weeks and 6 months after this new moon. And we want to note that this new moon, as it blesses your 11th house, can help you realize some of your longer range goals and dreams, some of those cherished hopes and wishes you have for your own life. Let's face it, with Jupiter in your 10th house of career and reputation, you're just damn lucky when it comes to career and reputation matters through till next June. And now this moon is piping in and saying, yes, Jupiter exalts the Cancer part of the sky. And so there's a natural affinity for what Jupiter's doing in your career house to the greater career gains that you're about to receive in the 2 weeks that follow. The job acceptance, the raise, the promotion, the interview of a dream interview for your dream job location. And also, what about Ceres? What do you need to end, sever, and harvest? Well, hopefully not a child. These are your children, but sometimes it's good to cut away from a kid, or a little bit of a cut off from a significant child relationship, adult child or something may be good for our soul. This is you cutting away, harvesting also in the house of sexuality, romantic love, creative projects, and entrepreneurial business endeavors. And end of story, though, when I see Ceres, a kind of a Grim Reaper harvest goddess here, she is a helicoptering mom as well. And if you're a parent, you might need to de-helicopter from your overconcern to rescue a child. All right, keep that in mind in the 2 weeks that follow and in the 6 months that follow. And so noting yourself, watching yourself in this moon, 2 weeks after the moon, are you like literally over functioning for a child? Because that's what Ceres can do in the 5th house. I've watched it with my clients and myself. I'm born with it. So I was a helicopter mama, especially to my daughter. And I say that because, Ceres rescued her daughter from the underworld, right? When she was, abducted by Pluto. So there's a lot about, the good archetype of the rescuing mom, but in its shadow, it is a mother that overfunctions. Mother smother maybe. Now, what else is happening here? You have this square energy. This is a T square, therefore, to what salacious, scandalous energy in the house of shared resources could happen. It may not be about you. It could be your partner. They're having a scandal, your business and love partner with their finances, and there's a sort of a gossipy scandal afoot. Or the money you share together, they said, oh, honey, I forgot to tell you, that joint bank account, I emptied it out. So whatever, look for some kind of little scandal there. And secrets, sexual secrets, hidden secrets, infidelities can be 8th house, squaring Ceres in the 5th house with romantic love. There can be some breaking scandals going on with hidden betrayal love stories in the 2 weeks that follow this moon. With the yearning for a true homecoming and Chiron in the 8th house, and the 8th house can be the esteem of others, but it's also your own deep psychological terrain, your own inner psyche. We can get spiritual liberation here. The moksha can happen. By disidentifying from our egoic consciousness. And so you may be finding this yearning for some deeper spiritual sustenance, for decompressing from the character that you've been cut out to play, the Virgo high service, hardworking grinder that you are. And, you're looking at how you want to decompress from identities that may have been formed in childhood or through past life energies. And that's it. I don't think I have much else to say. With Saturn going through your seventh house, you're going to feel a lot of heaviness here and difficulty with your long-term committed love story, or your partner's going through a difficult time. And that's true until 2026 February. So keep that in mind against the backdrop of it all. I mean, you've been going through a long, long transit of the goddess Juno in the house of you. I didn't use her today, but that is always going to mean that you're looking at your life through the lens of committed, enduring hardship of I'm not going to give up in this relationship. See, there she is. And possibly you are also going to be focused a bit on that, especially around July 15th, making big turning point decisions regarding long-term love connections. And then we'll be talking about that wedge that will be coming through the sky in a separate video on that. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, in the sky here, what we got going on, hang on, let me move my mic a little bit there. Well, first of all, I have mentioned to everybody that, this is impacting us all, and hopefully you guys listened a bit to the other stuff, but you're angular to this, you're a cardinal sign. It's in your 10th house of career. And if you're Libra, anywhere from 9 to 19 degrees of Libra, sun, moon, or rising sign, it is squaring your sun, moon, or rising sign very acutely. So even though it's a positive moon and it's opening up 2 weeks and later on 6 months of fulfillment around career success, fame, riches, power, wealth, creativity in your career, magic in your career, which is wonderful, opportunity in your career, it does square not only your Libra ascendant or sun or moon, but also the South Node, which has been deepening your connection to your spirituality and the essence of who you might really be when you let go, let God, when you surrender. And that has been true for you now as the South Node began its journey here last July of 23 and does not complete until January of 26. And against the backdrop of that, you're feeling this intensity of success in your career. But you're also trying to source that success from a deep spiritual well within you that's not caught up in the perks of the matrix, that's coming from a deeper soulful place. Because this new moon is opposite Ceres, in the goddess of the sickle and scythe and harvest, what are you harvesting and ending that has to do with your home, your property, your land, your real estate, maybe connections to endings in that part of your sky over the 6 months that follow this moon and the 2 weeks, or reaping and ending and severing from, harvesting, completing sort of childhood stuff, right? The ways you experienced growing up, and the way those experiences may have held you back, particularly because Saturn is the ruler of your 4th house and he is with Neptune in the difficult 6th house. Sometimes your health challenges that occur in the 2 weeks that follow this moon are more connected to baggage, karmic and psychological and ancestral baggage that you're trying to release, my humble opinion. But on a practical note, some of you may want to and so have sudden surprising, exciting opportunities to Mars, Uranus in your 8th house of mortgages and banks, sell, buy, or purchase, or whatever, or move a property or rent a property, Saturn in your 6th house rentals, in the 2 weeks that follow this moon. If you have a significant relationship with a long-term partner in love, you have scandalous, salacious energy going on here with the North Node increasing the salaciousness of it. Now, this just might mean your partner's underneath a kind of a wickedly bad gossip cycle about them, right? It may not even be about the two of you. So keep that in mind. With the North Node, North Node's up there, but with amplifying this intensity, but with the yearning for homecoming and the backdrop of the chironic wound in the house of relationship that all Libras have been feeling, chironically wounded in the house of committed long-term love, or business partnerships wounded there ever since 2019. This is a turning point energy because of the eclipses involving Chiron. And by the end of December, when Chiron goes direct at the same degree as the eclipse of April, you're really starting to see a complete turning point, not in a particular business and love relationship as much as how you engage in those relationships, because the wound is trying to turn around. And the yearning for the homecoming, the migration to one's true home of that asteroid on Chiron, is you're probably looking for a way to return to your true center and home in the context of relationship wounds. But your own partner in love and business may also be reflecting on the same themes of how they can move away from a woundedness in their relationship to you as well. With Ceres squaring this intense energy of the seventh house from the fourth, there can be severing in relationships that are too challenging to overcome the challenges of the relationship. Just letting you know, including domestic severing, including moving away from each other, selling a joint property, that kind of thing. When are you guys moving out? That kind of thing. Oh man, I've got next time I do a video here, I'm going to figure out a comfortable spot because this is not comfy. All right, moving into the Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign people. And let's get rolling, guys. First of all, we see the new moon is embedded with a Venus blessing connected to a gorgeous star, Sirius, in your ninth house of God. It's churches, it's cathedrals, it's rabbis and priests and swamis and spiritual seeking and knowing and knowledge. So there's that. Maybe some of you are really going to get on with a spiritual path as a result of such an auspicious new beginning, especially on a magical, alchemical, and mystical star as well. But also, what about practical things? Some of you may travel to a far off foreign shore in the 2 weeks or 6 months that follow and have great illumination as a result. Success in legal court matters or book publishing industry matters as well is quite possible, or podcasts that take off, things that you publish and put into the broadcast mode of kind of like serialized or longer term or more solid output. So when we talk about like the astrology podcast, for instance, with Chris Brennan, I'd put that as an institutional level of publication, right? It's coming out for years and it's consistent. Whereas a one-time appearance on a summit might be your third house social media stories. So success in those matters. And if you're involved in a third marriage can be the ninth house in one of two Indian systems. And so success and goodness in your third marriage environments over the third marriage. So what do you mean by third marriage? I mean, like, you're married for the third time, or you're with someone in a cohabitational, long-term committed love story that's like a marriage and is the third major one in your life. This is also opposite Ceres, and Ceres is in your third house. This is an opposition that suggests you need to end, cut, sever, something to do with your neighbors, neighborhood, sibling relationships. It might be as simple as leaving the neighborhood that you currently reside in, especially with Pluto in the fourth house, flowing to Jupiter in your eighth house, ample wealth opportunities regarding home property, real estate, legacy wealth, and inheritances. And some of this could allow for a change of neighborhood and neighbor situations in the 6 months that follow the moon, but also in the first 2 weeks, you might notice some of that as well. With the square, however, from the moon to the salaciousness, gossip in the office, guys, gossip in the office, colleague, coworker, employee space, watch, duck. It may not be about you, but it would be challenging. And with the North Node, inflammatory, increases in intensity in the 2 weeks and 6 months that follow this. With Chiron and the homecoming asteroid also square the moon, some of this prosperity energy in the ninth house, for some of you, it can be very auspicious if you want to work in a bureaucracy, in a government organization, in an institutional setting, ninth house stories. And human resources up here, guides and mentors are up here in the ninth house. Hand of the king is in the ninth house. You're going to work as an assistant to the CEO or something. These are auspicious directions for you. And this whole new lunation flows to your Scorpio sun, moon, and rising. So if your Scorpio sun, moon, and rising is anywhere, 9 to 19 degrees, especially, you're really loving this moon. It's going to bring you some luck. Ninth house is a luck house, and it's going to bring you a sense of flow and ease and purpose. But I want to say, yearning for your true home with Chiron in the workhouse is suggesting a lot of you are not in the right job, or you're in an area of livelihood that really isn't satisfying you. And really tune into that, because it looks like the 2 weeks that follow and the 6 months that follow, you're going to be able to try to align with the yearning for your true work path and come into more of a harmonious space through actions and decisions that are foisted upon you in a critical turning point way. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. We have a new beginning, a fresh start in the house of chunky money. And money you share with your business partner or spouse, bank, mortgage, investments, stock market stuff, tax situations, and inheritances. Got the lay of the eighth house land, unearned income, shared resources with another financially. Well, this money, this eighth house finance story is improving. The wealth star, luck star, good star Sirius is there. The dog star with Venus, the goddess of money and prosperity matters. So it can be that your partner in love, their money is improving if you share resources together and you're benefiting, because Jupiter is in the house of significant love and business partnerships, expanding them and giving that partner a lot of luck as well and prosperity. It can mean like you're in for a prosperous marriage, over the next year. This is also opposing Ceres. You might quit a job, end a job, cut out a possession, sell a possession, complete something in your financial structures of more of the daily bread, the way you make the money or it comes to you. It looks like there's some kind of sever, complete, finish, energy. And at the same time, I'm wondering why we see so much intensity in that fifth house, because that is about your children and your romantic partnerships and sexuality, and sometimes creative and entrepreneurial endeavors. So the North Node is Salacia, squaring the new moon, and the eighth house of infidelity and betrayals is a darker spot on the sky for you in the 2 weeks that follow this moon, and maybe up to the 6 months that follow. So you might have to duck a bit of scandal when it comes to this kind of secrets and infidelities in love. On the other hand, your children and money matters are up for you as well. And scandalous stories with your children and finances, especially if you're adult children and money and you are twisted up together. You're yearning, you're wanting to migrate to a true home. You're homesick for something in the fifth house, and Chiron is the wound there. That can be homesick and yearning for a truly positive sexual and romantic love. Yearning for a positive experience as an artist and a creative with the muse speaking to you. Yearning for some kind of return to enjoyment, pleasure, fun, inspiration, and enthusiasm and innocence in your life. Fifth house is like a child, that wonder of being a child. And you're hoping to receive a return to that. And this is a lunation that can help bring it. But if I go deeper than the money story, then I move into the eighth house stories of identifying from your egoic sense of consciousness of who the ego of who you think you are, because we liberate from houses 4, 8, and 12 into spiritual attainment or awareness. And the kind of liberation most associated with the eighth house is partly ancestral, but mostly by the formation of a sense of self who has all these characteristics that everyone says you're supposed to live by. You say, no, I'm going to be a caterpillar and turn into a butterfly. I'm going to be a snake that sheds that skin of identity. So some of you may be doing that in the 2 weeks that follow and 6 months after this new moon in Cancer. Hey, Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising. What's it like to have a new beginning in your marriage house? It should be positive. So it's blessed by Sirius, this beautiful star of wealth and success and prosperity and goodness and magic and alchemy, with Venus, the goddess of love. Now, it can be, if you're single, an opening in the next 6 months after the moon, and with evidence in the first 2 weeks of a new love story blossoming. In an existing relationship, this just encourages that relationship to flourish, but also your significant other who may be tripping into some success in their own life, in their work, career path, or whatever else. With your ascendant sun and moon being anywhere between 9 and 19 degrees, that means you're pretty close to the actual event of the moon at 14, across the way. It's hitting the guitar string of your I, thou axis, self and other. So there's a lot of goodness coming to you from other people, business partners, marriage partners, audience, marketplace. That's a very thrival story in your sky in the aftermath of this beautiful moon. However, it does oppose Ceres. What do you need to end, cut, and sever in your own life? If it's really about, if it's your Cap Sun, you're going to cut, end, and sever a career path, complete, finish, and end that story. If it's your moon, maybe at your home and nest, and if it's your rising sign, many things about you. But the idea is that you are the one who's the agricultural goddess. You're the one with the harvesting a device in your hand. And therefore you look at your career and you may harvest something. South node, let go of that path. You look at your home, you look at your partner, and you choose what to keep and what to not keep, what to harvest and what to reap, what to come to completions around to fulfill something. Now, with the square to your fourth house, Salacia, for example, North Node, family gossip, mom and dad stories, things from your childhood rearing up. With Mercury in the eighth house of secrets, let's go, secrets from your childhood rearing up that you didn't know that might be scandalous or salacious. And I hate to say it, sexual, especially with Mercury in the eighth house. This can literally be like you just found out that, Grandpa Joe was, a molester. Something, really audacious can occur in the 2 weeks that follow and 6 months that follow this moon. And, with this going on, knowing that you're going to have a Mars-Uranus conjunction in your fifth house on July 15th, there's a connection to Mars, right? Mars is a ruler of your fourth house. So there may be some really intense, unexpected, surprising, shocking energies with one of your children that also ties into family secrets. So keep that in mind, or with your current romantic partner. You might want to change your home because you've got a chironic wound since 2019 where you don't know where your true home is. All Capricorns are feeling it, moon, sun, and rising. Like a Cap moon sister just moved into her new home. I'm wondering if she might feel like she's still yearning for her true home or she migrated to her true home. So you guys let me know what this is. Will you migrate in the 6 months that follows this new moon to a place that feels like a true home, a homecoming for a homesickness that you have been unable to heal, Chiron? These eclipses are helping every Capricorn heal the chironic wound around home and belonging and finding your true nest that has been playing out since 2019. So this moon can promise that a new home can come through a significant long-term love relationship as well, or in collaboration with. But because it's a square, it's gritty and it requires action. It requires decisions. It requires momentum to spin the wheel of your destiny, because a lot of this is looking like an expansion of home or a change of home. North Node represents the foreigner, some of you, to a foreign home. But Juno in the house of foreign lands, some of you may be already engaging in long-term love stories with people from foreign countries other than your own. I am an Aquarius. I am one of you. Welcome to the story, guys. Every year we get a Cancer new moon in our sixth house. It's kind of subtle in an aversion to our ascendant, sun or moon. But, it's the new beginning to do with health and work matters, basically, pets and rental agreements, especially with Mars, Uranus in the fourth house. Shocking. Change of a home because of a new blessed new beginning regarding rental contracts. That's an option for this moon. New pet coming into your home. Surprise! A stray on your doorstep, you take it in. But also changes that are very auspicious. Venus blessed, Sirius, the dog star, super enchanted in the health and work matters. So if you're worrying about health challenges, they all will be resolved. Everything should turn out well. But also when it comes to your work and your work, the daily work you do, do you work in an office? Do you work in a bedroom? Do you work in a window ledge in your sister's house like I'm doing? What kind of work do you do that's of service to the world? All work is service. It's a service and servitude, drudgery and duty house. When we're on our own path, we know where we're going. This Artha house in flow to the house of our finances and the 10th house of career allows for us to explore true path work that is of service to the greater good, helps us pay off our karmic debts, and we can actually enjoy it as well as prosper. And in that sense, this is a moon that allows for those things to be made manifest. Because we have an opposition from this lunation to Ceres in the 12th house, you're cutting out addiction, self-undoing bad habits and behaviors that are saboteurs of your best outcomes. But you also may be reaping, harvesting, and completing a cycle of financial success, taking a harvest off the table regarding borderless international revenue from foreign sources, foreign shores, and foreign entities. Having the square to Salacia, some gossip or scandalous stories about a sibling or neighbor, aunt, uncle, cousin, niece, or nephew could be in the works in the 2 weeks that follow this moon. Watch also for unexpected developments, not unexpected, but scandalous developments in your neighborhood, you know? Oh my God, look what happened to Bob. They carried him off in a straitjacket yesterday. You know, hopefully not, but because your younger sibling, one under you, is here, then there could be some scandalous and shocking North Node amplifies, inflames a scandal that they could get involved in. It's particularly in their marriage environment with Mercury trining from the house, the categoric house of marriage. You want to know where your true home is, but because the asteroid for the homecoming, the migratory bird, Leleakuhonua or whatever, sorry guys, is in your third house. It is also, unless your IC is there in the floating IC and the whole sign house system can float in the third, fourth, or fifth house, and even 6 and 2, sometimes 1 and 7 even. It's crazy. This energy is asking you more deeply where your real, boys in the hood, right? What's your neighborhood? Where do you want to live? What kind of place is environmentally happy for you? What kind of neighborhood, daily environment satisfies you? One thing I'm coming to terms with as an Aquarius lately is I need grass under my feet. I'm living in Montreal and now and then a pied-à-terre in Vancouver, and now a beautiful place with a roof deck and gorgeous views in an apartment, 2-bedroom apartment in Vancouver. But I can't get my feet on the grass, guys. I can't just go outside and step on some grass. And it's so simple, but I want it and I need it. And it's so clear to me now. It's crystal clear. I'm yearning for a homecoming to grass. I grew up with a yard and grass and trees, and I miss being able to ground in the grass, in the yard, in the earth, in the forest even. So where are you, Aquarians, listening to me today, yearning for a homecoming, a migratory bird wanting to re-nest in the third house of the neighborhood, the daily environment that you inhabit, the to's and fro's of your daily environment, the bank, the stores, the grocery stores? Where do you want to be in that space? Because it's possible there's a change here in the 6 months that follows this lunation, because a new moon is in the house of rentals and work matters and office space, and it is in a connection of flow to Mars for change, unexpected in the home and nest. You may have felt disconnected and wounded around short distance travel, sibling relationships, and your neighborhood environments ever since Chiron entered here in 2019. I sure have. I didn't take an unneeded, unnecessary, unsafe, and non-effective protocol during the pandemic, and I couldn't travel anywhere in my home country of Canada. So one of the things I think is that this is still healing. The eclipse of April is healing this wound for us. And this new moon, even though it squares, it is asking for the actions and decisions to be made to bring us into alignment with the third house. Now, writing projects are here. And if you've been wounded around your writing projects and creative projects that involve communication, blogging included, you're going to be returning to a homecoming in this area of your sky. And Venus is saying you might enjoy your work more if you were doing a little more writing, a little more blogging, a little more things that you really want to do in your third house, which involves social media as well. All righty, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign in the sky. You have a new moon in your 5th house of children. Now, new moons are new beginnings, they're conceptions, inception points, but Cancer, of course, is very nurturant, and Venus is a fertility goddess. So your children who are adults may be conceiving a child in the 2 weeks that follow this new moon, announcing to you they have a baby in the hopper, or within 6 months, you're going to hear about a grandchild on the way. However, if you happen to be Pisces yourself, an egg bearer or a sperm carrier, you or your partner may indeed be looking at a fertility transit. If you're not going to have a literal baby, you can have a creative project baby. You can have an entrepreneurial business baby that wants to be conceived. It's going to be bringing you wealth and fame and prosperity, and that flows in a trine of water to your ascendant sun or moon. If you have a 9 to 19 degrees, sun, moon, or rising in Pisces, is particularly intensely connecting to you, this new moon, this rare new moon on the dog star in the 5th house of fun, play, pleasure. But what about romance? Are you a single Pisces? Nothing like a Venus-infused new beginning on a powerful alchemical star for romantic alchemy and magic in the 2 weeks or 6 months that follow the moon. What about the opposition to Ceres in your 11th house? Well, maybe you need to end some social group of belonging, quit the book club, quit the curtain, quit the society, quit that friendship, harvest or end that way that you've been socializing, or career gains indeed. Maybe a completion of a modus operandi about how you've been making money, or a kind of completion or fulfillment of a relationship with an elder sibling. As you see this sky unfold over the course of the 6 months, not just on the moon or the 2 weeks that follow. The square to Salacia with the North Node and the homecoming asteroid in Aries is about your financial wellness, your resources, your earnings and money. With the North Node, you're expanding your resources, you're increasing your savings, you're increasing the ways that you can be financially resourceful. And you want to move to a meaningful, chironic, key to purpose energy in the way you make money and the way you resource your finances and the way you have those assets available because you are on purpose. Anyone born with Chiron in the 2nd house has a hard time with their finances until they figure out what their purpose is. Just go ask them. I have that. And purpose is changeable, of course, but knowing in any given era of your life what that purpose is means you're financially successful. And so temporarily, the Pisces are experiencing this since 2019, the conundrum of purpose and financial wellness. You may be healing a dietary style as well. You want to come home to your true self. You're yearning for a homecoming regarding your facial appearance, your dietary style, your resources and financial assets and earnings. And you need to take decisions and make actions or whatever, make decisions, take actions, square energy connected to that yearning for financial success and truth and purpose. When it comes to the muse, Venus is a freaking actress in the 5th house. She's an artist, a painter. She's a singer, a performer. She's the one who says, I am with the muse. The muse is with me, and I'm squaring your money house. The bottom line is, it's time to get down with your muse. You want to be enchanted, inspired, enthusiastic. You really want to follow your bliss in terms of what is creative that is also going to engender greater satisfaction in your work, and the work financial wellness matters, right? Jupiter is in your 4th house, which is wonderful. Good for home property, real estate matters. My sister just moved to a new home. She's a Pisces rising, but it's also good for expanding your prosperity in and from your home. With Mercury in the 6th house in a sextile, a lot of you might be called to do a home-based business rather than gallivant to the top of the sky in a corporate setting as a result of what we're seeing here in the sky. Look, you're acting very serious. You have Saturn in your 1st house. You're sober-minded, realistic, and sage-like. You're gazing at reality through a wisdom lens right now in your life. You're owning Saturn. Saturn is you. Hopefully you like it. Hopefully you're not depressed, heavy burdened, heavy-shouldered, melancholic, and alone. You could also be that. But if you want to use Saturn to its greatest advantage, helping you make your dreams become real with Neptune, own the sage within yourself. Okay, level up. And I bring that up to you because with this energy there in your energy field through to 2026, and with Jupiter eventually going into your 5th house next summer for 1 year, June of next year, add a year, you're coming into a very luscious, joyful, successful, creative, and prosperous time. So in the meantime, as you look at this new moon, what new beginnings in the art, creativity, procreativity part of your sky and romantic love are you trying to establish? Certainly, if you get involved in a new romance in the 2 weeks that follow or the 6 months that follow this moon, it's likely to be successful because you're looking at it realistically. And of course, we have a baked in Juno, the goddess of commitment in love. during this lunation. So good luck with that for you single Pisces. Those of you already in a relationship can rejuvenate your fun, play, pleasure, and sex life, as well as commitment to an existing romantic partner. Thanks for listening. I hope that was useful. I hope that gave you guys some navigational guidance to time your best life. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Don't forget this channel thrives by your participation in it, not just me broadcasting a bunch of stuff into the ethers. So by you giving me a thumbs up on these videos or sharing with a friend, it does actually help this channel thrive, which helps me thrive. Thanks for listening. I wish you all the very best this summer as we approach the dog days this summer. Stay tuned for the big, maybe a webinar, because it's such a big deal, Mars-Uranus conjunction and that synodic cycle in your life. I might do a webinar. I'll probably do it for free. So stay tuned for that, but also a big video will come out on that for all signs, probably in early July. So like, subscribe, hit the bell so you'll get your all signs video and notified of when I put that out. Because that's a game changer, guys. I mean, that's not only is that a Mars conjunct Uranus in the sign of Taurus. We saw that in the 30s, and this is the last of 3 we'll see in our lifetime. But it also reactivates the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that we had in the month of May. So it's a big deal. We're going to be talking all about it. It's a really big deal for Joe Biden. It's opposite his sun. It's a really big deal for Trump. It's on his midheaven. It's a really big deal in France, too, because if I remember correctly, I'm vaguely remembering that it's going to hit I think it's going to hit the, is it Macron or is it France's midheaven? Either which way, I think Macron just called a snap election, and of course he's probably going to lose. Okay, ciao, everybody. Finishing this recording on Tuesday, the 25th of June. My Patreon community gets this early access ad-free today. You guys get this content 2 days later. Quite often, my Patreon community will get content up to 3 weeks before you get it. So if you want to be ahead of the curve and receive content exclusively without the ads before the public, that's a very minimum. And I'm giving you my Chiron key to purpose and my Synastry Are You My Person relationship course is for free. If you sign up for my Patreon, give me a try. The cheapest tier is $5. And at the $5 tier, you have 1 Zoom meeting with me a month. And every tier, you get increased number of capable meetings. 3 right now, but I'm adding a new meeting in September. So stay tuned for that. So up to 4 meetings with me per month where we talk astrology. I take your questions. I teach you things and stuff that I don't do here on YouTube. All right. Big hugs, everyone. Oh, time for a nice farmer's market visit. I am so sad. That COVID was, I mean, I must have had 104 fever for 3 days. It burned so many brain cells. I know I'm in charcoal brain, but it's put me in a state of peace. Like super chill. I think it's like Jill Bolte Taylor, a stroke of insight. She got enlightened when she had a brain damage stroke. It's crazy. My channel subs are looking like shit. I don't know what's going on in the back end of YouTube land. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess I can get another job. Maybe I can start selling, I don't know, Tupperware or something like that. And it just feels like I can't even get worked up about it. Seriously. All right. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a wonderful day.